J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. Wendy was kept very busy looking after the boys. She cooked for them, and sewed, and darned their clothes, and every night she told them a story, and tucked them up in the large bed in their underground home. There was just one room, which each child could enter and leave only by wriggling up and down his own hollow tree. Wendy also stopped the boys from eating a particularly rich, damp cake, a cake which the pirates had cooked in the hope that the boys would eat it and die. The pirates placed the cake in one cunning spot after another, but Wendy always snatched it from the hands of the boys, so that, in time, it became stale and as hard as a stone, and Captain Hook fell over it in the dark. The children often spent long summer's days on the Mermaid's Lagoon, swimming and floating and watching the mermaids play with their bubbles. It was usually a sunny, laughing place, but one day the sun went away, and shadows stole across the water. The children were sleeping on Maroona's Rock in the middle of the lagoon, when little shivers ran over the water, and there was the sound of muffled oars. At once, Peter sprang to his feet and cried, "Pirates! Dive!" There was a gleam of legs, and instantly the rock was deserted. The children watched as the pirate dinghy drew near. The pirates, Smee and Starkey, were at the oars, and between them was Tiger Lily, the red-skinned princess. Her hands and ankles were tied, for they had caught her boarding the pirate ship, and she was now their prisoner. In the gloom, the boat crashed into the rock. "Here it is," cried Smee. "All we have to do is hoist the redskin onto it and leave her to drown as the water rises." Close by, but out of sight, Peter and Wendy were bobbing up and down in the water. Peter was determined to save Tiger Lily, but he would not do this the easy way, by waiting until the pirates had gone. Instead, he now imitated the voice of Hook. "Ahoy there, you lubbers!" he called. "The captain!" cried the pirates, staring at each other in surprise. "He must be swimming out to us," said Starkey. "Set the redskin free!" called Peter. "Cut her bonds and let her go!" Captain!" "At once, do you hear?" cried Peter, "or I'll plunge my hook into you." "Better do what the captain orders," said Starkey nervously, and he cut Tiger Lily's cords. She slid into the water just as the words, "Boat ahoy!" rang over the lagoon. It was Hook's voice, but this time it was not Peter who had spoken. This time it was Hook himself. The captain had swum across the lagoon, and now, in the light of the pirate's lantern, Wendy saw his hook grip the boat's side. She would have dearly liked to swim away, but Peter signaled to her to keep still and listen. "The game's up," cried Hook. "Those boys have found a mother." "Captain," said Smee, "why don't we kidnap her and make her our own mother?" "It's a princely scheme," cried Hook. "We will seize the children and carry them to the boat. We will make the boys walk the plank, and Wendy shall be our mother." By now they were on the rock, and Hook suddenly remembered Tiger Lily. "Where's the redskin?" he demanded. "Oh, that's all right, Captain," replied Smee. "We'll let her go, just as you ordered." "Let her go?" cried Hook. "Brimstone and gall, I gave no such order." His face was black with rage, but he soon realized that the pirates really thought it was his voice they had heard. "You must have heard a spirit," he said. Then he stood up and cried, "Spirit! Do you hear me?" Peter could keep quiet no longer. "I am James Hook," he answered, "captain of the Jolly Roger." "You are not! You are not!" cried Hook hoarsely.
Tell me, do you have another name?
Aye, replied Peter in his own voice. It is Peter Pan.
Pan! Shouted Hook. After him, lads! Take him, dead or alive!
Are you ready, boys? Cried Peter. Then lay into the pirates! The fight was short and sharp. The boys surrounded Smee and Starkey and tore their swords from their grasp. As the two pirates fled, they dived after them into the water. But there was only one who dared to approach Hook, and that was Peter Pan. As they met on the slippery rock, Peter snatched a knife from Hook's belt, and at the same moment, Hook fell. Peter wanted a fair fight, so he gave the pirate a hand to help him up. It was then that Hook bit him. Peter was so horrified by the unfairness of this that he could only stare as Hook's iron hand clawed him twice. He would have been killed there and then if they had not heard the tick-tick of the clock inside the crocodile. Hook, his face white with fear, dived into the water and swam wildly for the Jolly Roger. Meanwhile, the boys had found the dinghy. They clambered aboard and began to search for Peter and Wendy, calling them by name. When no answer came, they assumed that they must be flying back home. They did not see Peter, with one last effort, pulling Wendy up onto the rock. "The water's rising, Wendy," he said, "and soon it will be over the rock. Do you think you could swim or fly back home without my help?" "Oh, Peter, I think I'm too tired." Peter moaned. "Oh, I can't help you, Wendy. Hook wounded me. I can neither swim nor fly." At that moment, something brushed against Peter. It was the tail of a kite, which Michael had made some days before. It had torn itself out of his hand and floated away. With a cry of excitement, Peter seized the tail and pulled the kite towards him. It was not big enough to lift both of them, but he was sure it could carry Wendy to safety. Before she could refuse to go without him, he had tied the tail around her. With a "Goodbye, Wendy," he pushed her from the rock and watched her being carried out of sight. The water was already washing over his toes when he saw the Never Bird coming towards him. A few days before, her nest had fallen from a tree overhanging the lagoon, but she had not deserted her eggs. She had continued to sit in her nest as it floated on the water, and Peter had given orders that she was not to be disturbed. Using her wings as oars, she was now desperately trying to reach Peter and save him. With one last effort, she propelled her nest into Peter's hands and flew up into the air. Peter put her eggs into the hat which Starkey had left on the island and floated it on the lagoon. Then he got into the nest and drifted away, while the bird fluttered down upon the hat and once more sat snugly on her eggs. Peter reached the underground home almost as soon as Wendy, who had been carried here and there by Michael's kite. Every boy had adventures to tell, and it was only after they had spent many hours telling them that Wendy finally said, "To bed, to bed," in a voice that had to be obeyed.